We're brought to you by JCPenney. Guys, at JCPenney, you can find all the great looks, whether you're in the office or on the go. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan, or relax and look good on the weekend with MSX by Michael Strahan, exclusively at JCPenney. You heard right. That stylish clothing line from Sack King, 7-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl champion Michael Strahan. And you know he's always dressed to perfection. So hurry in, get your look today. JCPenney, style and value for all.
Hey, college football fans, Kirk Herbstreit here. Whether you're home gating or tailgating this season, score big on Game Day Eats with Eckridge Smoked Sausage. And now you can enter the 2019 Road to the National Championship sweepstakes. You can join me at the College Football Playoff National Championship in Santa Clara, California for a chance to throw to win $1 million. To enter and learn more, visit EckridgeFootball.com. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Sweepstakes ends 12/20/18. Contest rules online.
Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo. ESPN Radio, ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here with you. And the first thing I noticed, guys, when I turned on the Monday Night Football game last night, there were a lot of Khalil Mack jerseys in the stands.
Yeah. That's worked out pretty well for him. That defense, I know we're going to talk about the lack of offense there and Mitch Trubisky and where that's going to go, but this defense, and there are years when, in both rooms, for people to understand, when you go in an offensive room and a defensive room, there's always that big board of goals that you try and hit every week.
Squad goals.
And for defense, turnovers is always one of them. And turnovers is one of those things where sometimes you try and do, but sometimes they just kind of happen for you. Happened a few years ago for the Bears. It's happening this year for the Bears as well, with turnovers, certainly with sacks, having, as we'll get into, 10 in the first two games. But it's all kind of rolling right for that defense right now. They're doing really, really well.
It is, and you make a lot of your own luck, certainly in those situations. Downfield, when you see guys stripped in scrums down the field, those are the skills that you teach in practice. But in situations like sacking the quarterback, you give yourself more chances when you're around the quarterback as much as these guys are. And part of that has certainly been, as Trey mentioned, the Khalil Mack effect on this defense.
And that's the most important thing, and we'll get into it in great detail later. It's not just what Mack is doing, it's what he's allowing everybody else to do. That is really the unwritten headline here that a lot of people watching the game probably don't understand. And the Bears defense is what everybody's talking about. Brought to you by Lowe's. Pros in the know start with Lowe's. Go to lowesforpros.com for details. We'll get into the Bears-Seahawks game and what it means, quite frankly, for both teams going forward, and maybe a third party that might have been involved with one of those teams in a trade for Monday Night Football. We'll get into all of that, but first let's start, as we always do, with what's trending, and give it up for Joe Peterson.
Jock Peterson, as I said, launched 2 home runs and tracked down a pair of potential extra base hits on defense as the Dodgers are back in first place in the NL West with an 8-2 win over the Rockies. Yeah, a couple more games between these two and the back and forth that's going on. But Jock Peterson defensively played well, obviously with the home runs, offensively as well. But so they're 12 games more, 2 against each other here, and then 10 against other opponents for both of them. As I said, going down to the end and just the race that's going to go on, but you just look for the individual. We're going to get into a couple other individual performances when the lights are shining brightest now to make it into the playoffs, whether it's winning the division, whether it's getting to the wild card, or being on the outside looking in. You're looking for those individual performances, and we're getting them.
You certainly are getting them, and also getting individual setbacks. Trevor Story,
that hurts.
Tough one for the Rockies. Tweaked his elbow last night in the first inning, and then aggravated on a swing in the fourth inning. So tests coming up, was the test today, Tuesday, to determine the severity of that right now, which is going to be huge for them because you want to talk about how tight these races are. So they drop a half game behind the Dodgers in the division, which also puts them a half game behind the Cardinals for the second spot in the NL wild card. So that's how tightly bunched it is on that end. We've talked a lot about certainly the AL races, but on the NL on that side, as tightly packed as you can get, and losing Trevor Story, we know what he's done, especially being a home run hitter in the last couple of seasons, would be pretty devastating this time of season.
It is amazing how things swing quickly. It was just a couple of days ago they were sitting pretty atop the division, and now they're on the outside looking in with not much time left in the Major League Baseball season. Well, moving on, you mentioned the Milwaukee Brewers and where they sit. Again, right now they hold the top spot in the National League in the wild card race, and they continue to do amazing things, including one player is specifically Christian Yelich.
Here it is. Yelich knocks one to the gap in right center. This could be the
That the great Bob Uecker on
awesome.
WTMJ. Of course, what he didn't say there is he hit for the cycle.
Yeah,
again.
I think he front-ended that.
Yes.
We just didn't have that in there.
We are the pettiest show.
Yeah, we are.
But
exactly.
again, Yelich became the first player in Major League history to hit for the cycle against the same team twice in one season. But more importantly than that, he's just the fifth player in Major League history with multiple cycles in the same season.
I love the people he's joined.
These are the greatest things in the world.
And we're going to get more info on these guys.
Yes, we are.
Let's
it's
about to get really old in here, isn't it?
Let's just wash over the oldness.
Get ready,
right now.
Cliff.
Cliff, get ready.
We're going to start from the most recent. Aaron Hill in 2012.
Former Blue Jay.
Babe Herman, 1931. 1887, Tip O'Neill, not that Tip O'Neill.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And in 1883, Long John Riley. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
This is why old-time baseball stuff is awesome. Because you go to the 80s, and Long John Riley, Tip O'Neill, and not that Babe from the 30s, but the other Babe Herman.
Well, I think that's the first marker that you're really getting into age territory is when you just have guys named Babe again. It's one of those names that just only pops up once black and white starts to be the modus operandum of anything you're viewing.
Just awesome. It's just awesome. So we're going to get a bunch of info, especially on the Tip O'Neill, not that Tip O'Neill, and Long John Riley.
As we've done before with Hoop, and a couple of other players.
We love doing this.
We are all in on we need to know more about Long John Riley.
That's what Google's for.
That's what our researcher Harrison is for. Use the Google machine.
Yeah, use the Google. Use that Google thing.
We are ready to do that because we want to know as much as we possibly can on this show.
But by the way,
Long John.
good job out of Christian Yelich. We kind of lost him in the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That happened too.
Who's been a monster since the All-Star break, right? Like basically ranked first or second in almost any meaningful category. Slugging percentage, hits, batting average, on base plus slugging, 50 RBIs since the All-Star break. Like the dude's been a juggernaut, and this Milwaukee Brewers team has just been hawking down the Cubs.
It has.
The Cubs have just been watching them fearfully in their rearview mirror. I think they're 3 games up in the wild card race right now.
Yeah, they are.
But,
and then
2.5 behind the Cubs.
And really, the National League's all we have.
Yes.
As far as races anymore. Everything's over in the American League. Even the wild card. We know it's going to be the Yankees and Oakland. We just don't know where that game is going to be played at this point. The divisions are basically done.
By the way, Yelich's big performance, something he's been doing, as you said, since the All-Star break, is brought to you by Scott's. Feed your lawn again this fall for a stronger yard now and next spring. We continue. Okay, this is why I love Mike Zimmer as a head coach.
And this is also why you just understand that while football is a game, football is a business.
Yes, it is.
When decisions are made, it's a business.
A lot of people were wondering whether or not they were going to cut Daniel Carlson, their kicker, after he missed 3 field goals against Green Bay. Yeah, they are. And this is exactly how the decision went down with Mike Zimmer when he was asked about what's he going to do with this kicker.
What went into the decision today to let Daniel Carlson go?
Did you see the game?
Was it an easy decision?
Yeah, pretty easy.
So I love the guy. I love Zimmer. Everybody that's played for him loves him. He is an old school, no nonsense, no BS coach, and that sums it up. Did you see the game? Pretty easy decision.
Yeah, there's talking around something and trying not to be, come across as so blunt, and try and spin it. And then there's that way, which is just about as basic as it can. We all knew it was going to happen. And he basically said, yeah, it's a pretty easy decision to make.
Mike Zimmer's got to be a text message breakup guy. Like, that level of savagery is reserved for people who don't even have the common decency to just meet you in person and do it. He just wants to get it over with as quickly. We all know this is coming to an end. For Daniel Carlson, it's tough. A rookie, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a tough way to get your NFL career started. We've seen plenty of kickers rebound and get other chances. But Minnesota's messed around with bad kicking for too long for them to really have to deal with this for much longer. And they remedied that decision pretty easily.
They did. The second most accurate kicker in the history of the NFL now has a job. That is Dan Bailey. Source telling our Adam Schefter that he's going to sign with them. And here's the interesting thing. Okay, let's be honest about what you see, because Dan Bailey reportedly turned down 4 offers
before this weekend
happened.
Yeah.
So if you turned down 4 offers, you knew he was never going to go to Cleveland because they are also dismissed. They've also dismissed their kicker. But basically, if you're Dan Bailey, let me get this straight. I got a team with a great defense, a multifaceted offense that plays their home games indoors, and they've already been to Green Bay.
Yeah.
This is a good situation for me.
It's a great and
really good situation
that was the beauty of his position, and a lot of people wonder why he got cut, had the injury, nicked up a little bit, missed some kicks, and it was a big price tag as well.
$3.4 million.
So this is where the Cowboys decided they were going to kind of save a little bit, and Okay, we'll see how that one works out for you.
Yeah. But again, if I'm a Viking fan, I really like this move.
Yep.
Great pickup for them. Should eliminate a number of those ills. But you're right. A cold reminder, the business side. I saw you treat it, Trey, too. Zane Gonzalez from the Browns had been apparently kicking with a bit of a groin injury that day.
Schefter reported that he's been working through a groin injury, although Hugh Jackson, in the most Browns thing ever, said, I was not aware of any groin injury. So, then this is like, now you wonder, because does that information come from an agent saying, hey, this is what was going on?
Yeah.
But again, there just seems to be a confluence of issues going around with the Cleveland Browns.
I will say that when you're young and you're looking for a job and trying to have a job, sometimes you will not report an injury.
Correct. That's
true.
So,
I mean, I know I've been down that road.
No. Yeah.
So where you just not say anything, you will not go into the training room because you go in there, it's on a report and that the coach sees.
Yes.
So if he went in there for treatment, then the coach is flat out lying.
Right.
Because then it would be on a report.
Yeah.
But if you don't go in there at all and you try and say, I'm not going in that training room, then a coach cannot know.
And we brought this up before, like, with a superstar player has a concussion, he's going to take himself out of the game. But if you're a gunner on the punt squad, are you going to go in there?
Not doing it, not saying a word.
Be replaced. So there's a lot of variables in that situation. And speaking of the Cleveland Browns, they have dealt wide receiver Josh Gordon to, of course, the New England Patriots. In return, they get a 5th-round pick, while the Pats will also get a 7th-round pick from the Browns if Gordon is not active for 10 games. League sources telling ESPN's Adam Schefter. Look, there's a ton to get into here, and we will get into it this morning. But at the end of the day, this is about a low risk possible for the New England Patriots with the potential to be a very, very high reward. Josh Gordon has the chance to be one of the top 5 receivers in football. And if he doesn't, it costs them next to nothing. And the other part of it is, if it doesn't work out, it's not going to kill that locker room because everybody knows there's only one way this goes anyway, and the program goes on with or without you.
Oh, it's exactly right. This is New England. They pass out draft picks like candy.
Yep.
I mean, they use that just as, here's some candy, here's a 3rd rounder, here's a 5th rounder, we'll get back a 7th rounder, we'll use that again, we'll probably trade that one away, no problem, and they'll take the chance. And this is a position they've taken the most chances on. I think this is a 22nd or 23rd, I think, since July transaction at the wide receiver position for them. And by the way, it's not like they're unbelievably productive there. Since 2002, they've had 5.
25, actually.
25. Yeah. So 25. So since 2002, they've had 5 1,000-yard receiving seasons. That's it. 3 of those times came from traded players. Wes Welker, Randy Moss, and Brandon Cooks. And where's Brandon Cooks now?
He's with the Rams.
He's gone. So 3 times that has happened. So you bring a guy in a trade. We know the talent level this guy has. But to your point, Trey, and I agree that if it doesn't work out, he's gone, and you just move on.
Because they trust Tom Brady. Like, you've got everything about the Patriots situation is an anomaly. Like, you can't. That's why we look at every move they make as the right move, because they can erase every wrong part of it by having Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in a way that no one else can. Their situation is so unique that they know this could supercharge them. I mean, Tom Brady, as great as he is, his best season still came when Randy Moss was there. Like, it's not a secret. You get better when you have better guys to throw to. But you can make it work at a Super Bowl level without him, too. They'll get Julian Edelman back after 4 weeks and still be a darn good offense with him and Gronk, but this has a chance to take them to a place that would feel borderline unfair.
Look, at the end of the day, the list of people that he's taken chances are some have worked, some haven't. Rodney Harrison was considered to be a controversial player when he traded for him. That worked out. Corey Dillon was supposed to be a controversial player, the running back out of Cincinnati. That worked out. He took a flyer on Albert Haynesworth.
Yep.
Didn't work out, but it didn't cost him anything. Took a flyer on Ocho Cinco. Ocho Cinco never really grasped the offense, and that year, without him doing much, they actually went to the Super Bowl. They lost that Super Bowl to the Giants, the second one they would lose, Super Bowl 46 in Indy. But it didn't, nothing collapsed
not
the room.
Detrimental.
It's not going to hurt them. We'll get into their draft picks in 2019 a little bit later, and why this all works out, hear from other people what they think about the trade. But then there's the Monday night game we got to talk about, guys. And again, the Bears finally got their first win of the season, 24-17. So on the plus side, that defense led by, Khalil Mack continues to make all kinds of plays. It wasn't a Prince Amukamara pick 6 that actually sealed the game late. But at the end of the day, Matt Nagy, the head coach, who's known for his offense, really loving what he's seen with that defense.
I thought it was pretty neat that after sudden change with 2 interceptions, we got 2 3-and-outs by the defense. That's awesome. There's not a lot of teams in the NFL that have, I think, that mentality and that where our defense is playing right now. The last 2 games, now we had the difficulties there in the third and fourth quarter against Green Bay, but for the most part right now, our defense is playing fast. They're flying around. And so they helped us out offensively. They helped the offense out. There's going to be times where the offense is going to help the defense out. So that's just the way it goes. In the end, the only thing that matters is that W. That's it.
Oh, he's right about that. And listen, the reason they're getting that W and maybe should have gotten the W week 1 against Green Bay is because of that defense.
Listen, right now it is about the defense for them. They have that going on. Again, 2 touchdowns on defense. Khalil Mack has the one. Prince Amukamara got a pick 6 last night. The only team in the NFL that has 2. So they're forcing turnovers. They're getting sacks. They have 10. Only team with 10 right now. That's the best by this team since '87 when they started with 13 in the 2 first games. The issue here is going to be the offense, Mike. I mean, without question. You look at Mitchell Trubisky, the second half, they really shortened the passes up. And he took some passes down the field early on in the game. There were some overthrows. He had some picks as well. He's still struggling a bit. I still overall like him, but let's see where this goes with Nagy with all these all those formations they run. It would drive me nuts, quite honestly. But they're incredible amount of formations. But more is going to have to come from Mitch Trubisky. And Nagy is trying to help him out a bit with the short passes, tons of short passes in the second half. Not at this point going to be a juggernaut offense. 3 top receivers, all new guys, Trey Burton, Allen Robinson, and Tyler Gabriel. So you're still working with that. Taylor Gabriel. So you're still working with that crew. But I don't think it's going to be a juggernaut offense by any stretch. So they need a good controlled offense, and that defense needs to keep doing what they're doing.
Well, I mean, Mitch Trubisky is what's holding back the offense. Yep. It's a young quarterback who's not yet ready to have the keys to all that's handed to him. And Matt Nagy, the finesse god last night, the stuff that he was able to do to try and help him out, the Andy Reid coaching tree has proved itself so adept at doing this. Phenomenal. Because what we saw last night was eerily reminiscent. I remember watching early the first couple of games of Carson Wentz with Doug Peterson in Philadelphia when it was a lot of things, spread wide formations, short, easy throws to get him in motion, and then occasionally let him do the thing, because the one thing that does jump off the page, Mitch Trubisky is not he is a great athlete.
Yes, he is.
When he breaks contain, when he moves up in the pocket,
except for that one play where he bounced it outside, so the run was on.
Yeah, that was a bad run. That was a bad run. That was a planned run.
That was assuming too much of his athletic ability. But the point is, you can build those plays in the way they did. You throw 2 tight ends out there to block for him because you believe in him as a runner. When he goes up in the pocket, you see him make defenders miss in a way that not a lot of quarterbacks can do. And when the play breaks down was some of when he was at his best, but the rest of it has to get better, because if it did in a hurry, this would be a team that could get a little more talk in this division in particular than it's going to with him at this current pace.
Well, let's talk about that then for a second, because through 2 games, the offense has produced 16 and 17 points because they've gotten a defensive score in each of their first 2 games. This is not year 1 for Mitchell Trubisky. It is year 1 with Matt Nagy. It is year 2 for him. When do we need to start seeing the kind of things, to your point, that we've seen Carson Wentz take in year 2 with this situation? Because you're right. This offense should be better, and it's being held back because things are being missed from the quarterback position.
Well, I think the Eagles are a more adept comparison than maybe some of the other instances that we've seen, because we didn't exactly look at that Eagles team and say, outside of Zach Ertz, that's one that's flush with offensive weapons. It's got very good players in it, and I think Alshon Jeffrey, Allen Robinson, those are kind of similar comps. Trey Burton's a guy that came from that system. Right. The running back group, you could argue, is better in Chicago with Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard.
I agree.
And what those 2 offered. I mean, the Eagles, the Chicago Bears offensive line looked really good too last night. I think the quarter mark of the season, that's where we look for a lot of these things right, especially in this new CBA where one of the things that I'm sure Matt Nagy, like other coaches, lament is he doesn't have as much time on the field with his quarterback as he'd like. And so that quarter mark of the season in this new offense, I think is going to be very telling.
One of the differences here is they had a lead. So you protect the lead a bit. You look at the 34 passes, 29 of them traveled within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. In the second half, he averaged, 4.4 air yards per attempt. You had a lead. The issue is going to be when they're behind, and if Mitch has to throw them back into it, and they got to throw it down the field a little more, and right now, he's struggling right there. So Nagy can protect him in some instances, but some point he's going to have to let the ball go, especially if they're coming from behind.
And Nagy alluded to that point after the game, saying, look, we're going to go as far as Mitch is going to take us.
I don't care if he threw 4 picks in the first half. I'm not going to change. I'm going to have ultimate trust in him and continuing to lead this offense. And so I've told him that from the start, and so I'll never back away from that. And so what I'll do is I'll try to protect him at times, in certain ways, but he won't know when I'm protecting him. It'll be by me doing it my own way. He's going to cut it loose, and if he starts getting into a shell, then we all get into a shell.
And I think that's a really interesting way to look at it, is to try and disguise it even from his quarterback, because you saw they took chances down the field.
They did.
But some of those didn't always work out. 2 interceptions last night. It should have been an easy third one that Seattle dropped
in the end zone.
Right
when
there.
He forced that one to the end zone, should have been a third. You're
and
right.
That would have been a devastating spot that could have changed the tide in a game where, as much as Seattle looked like they were getting dominated, they were never out of it.
No, they weren't. And listen, that's the thing. I was watching that first half, and I'm like, it's 10-3. I feel like they should be up 21-3. And they never were able to pay it off.
I kept waiting for put that game away. And next week, they have the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Maybe the worst team in the NFL. Yeah. So everybody's going to look positively and say this should go well for them. But, let's see. Let's see that offense get untracked a little more.
And if we're talking about the game and the great performance by the defense, you have to bring it up. Khalil Mack through 2 games, 2 sacks.
Yep.
The entire Raiders team through 2 games, 2 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders have forced 1 turnover this season. Khalil Mack, by his lone self, has 2 turnovers this season. And he had a forced fumble last night.
Yeah.
It's getting harder and harder to see that as, that was a good idea.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays out.
I think we're already there.
Yeah.
Guys, let's be real. When you look good, you feel good. At the JCPenney wardrobe sale, you can get 50% off select men's suits, separate sport coats, dress pants, and accessories. Plus, select dress shirts, buy one, get one free. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan. All the right looks to take your style to the next level. Also, save an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon, or extra 15% off with any other method of payment. Hurry in. JCPenney. Style and value for all. Pricing and coupon valid 9/13 and 9/23. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Some exclusions and restrictions apply. See store jcp.com for coupon and details.
It's time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Zoom gives you flawless video, crystal clear audio, and instant sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit Zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing. Technology powers your business, and technology changes. But chances are you're still using video conferencing that was wow 10 years ago, but feels more like whoa today. Ditch the choppy video and crappy audio and get back to wow with Zoom. It's the easiest, most reliable video collaboration suite, and it costs about 1/3 of what you're probably paying now. Wow, not whoa. Visit Zoom.us to set up a free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2 for the first 2 hours every morning. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike, it is time for Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Oh, and I'm not even talking about what happened with Clay Matthews. I just want you to know, as we were weaving our way through an intricate, layered, nuanced conversation about offense and defense in the NFL yesterday and on Monday night and what's going on and on all the specific things that we were trying to get to. I have 2 screens in front of me. My screen, which controls what I see, and the screen over there that comes from the control room and the things that they are doing to help us make sure the show stays on track. Mm-hmm. So as I'm looking at my screen, I see something scrolling over on my screen to my left. The control room has put in a Google search, what's the difference between ranch dressing and Thousand Island dressing? That's what they were doing while we were trying to figure
Trey. It was Russian dressing and Thousand Island dressing.
Okay.
And do you know the difference?
I was just going to say,
guy?
ranch and Thousand is a huge difference.
Does it matter? They were having a dressing discussion.
What is Russian dressing?
What is the difference?
The only difference that we can surmise so far is that, let me read it for you. The biggest difference is that Thousand Island dressings often include a finely chopped, hard-boiled egg.
And that's the Russian doesn't.
Correct.
I haven't seen and I've been to my share of buffets. I haven't seen.
This is where we are.
It's according to ehow.com.
I haven't seen Russian dressing in a long time, though. I know it, and I'm with you because it looks like Thousand Island. I was always thought the same thing. What's the difference? Chopped up egg. Okay, that's good.
So that's where they were. And if you want to explain why you went down this rabbit hole today, Stanzik?
Apparently something's trending on Twitter about mayo ketchup, and that's what is part of the ingredients.
Okay.
Oh, man. Thousand Island dressing takes me back. A good old Frisco melt from Steak and Shake.
Oh, yeah. Big fan.
Like 1,500 calories in one sandwich.
I'm a big fan of Thousand Island
dressing. God in
dressing.
heaven, is it a dream?
So just to recap, as we're trying to steer the ship here and make sure we're staying on point here, the room is looking for the iceberg that we can run into.
Yeah, there you go.
That's sort of the way. And that's Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE network.
Good find, though, guy.
Straight Talk, I'd drink Thousand Island dressing if you gave me the chance. That's Straight Talk for you.
Love it.
Appreciate that. Okay. Now let's get back on track, shall we? Thus avoiding the iceberg planted in front of us by the show staff. Clay Matthews, of course, very controversial hit. You frothed at the mouth yesterday,
yes,
and rightfully so, I should point out, disagreeing with it. Well, the NFL thought so much, Mike, of your incredibly thoughtful, poignant, passionate point, they basically said, shut up, we're doubling down.
Yeah, basically what they're doing is they're saying they're using this video and sending it to teams like they do every week or every couple of weeks as far as a teaching point that this is not the way to do it, which blows my mind. There is a rule, though. Rule 12, Section 2, Article 9 of the NFL Rulebook states
Article
that
9er.
The technique of grabbing the passer from behind the legs, scooping and pulling in an upward motion is considered a foul. And they're saying that's what he did. Mike McCarthy, Clay Matthews' head coach, says, the goal is player safety. I think that's number one. Number two, it's to protect the quarterback. But also I think you have to go further. I think anytime you have a desired result, there's a formula to get that result. You got to make sure you're looking at all the variables. I'm not sure all the variables are clear right now. So I understand that rule, and I read that rule, but I completely disagree that this rule applies in this hit.
Correct.
With the way the forward motion of Kirk Cousins throwing the ball, Clay Matthews tackled the quarterback the way the NFL is now wants youth football to tackle with heads up, to not use your helmet anymore, to wrap and to drive through a player to keep your feet going. He did all of that, and his right hand went around the waist of Kirk Cousins. His left hand went behind the leg because that's where he was in the body part of him, and his momentum of going one way, Kirk Cousins' momentum of throwing the other way, and then Clay tipped him and dropped him and put his hand out. I couldn't disagree more. And here's my thought. And listen, I'm not going to stop watching football. I'm not turning it off. The ratings aren't going to go down and all that. It's all fine, okay? I love the game, and I'll always be part of the game. But I'll say this. For those that are involved in this, that looked at this and are now used as a teaching tape, if there's a group of people at the NFL where, and I get along with a lot of them, and it's not like a friendship ends with any of them either for this. I just disagree. For those that did not play football at a high level, I get it. You don't know.
Yeah.
In all honesty, you don't know. For those of you who are part of the league and are involved in this decision, who played meaningful football and looked at that play and agree that it was a foul, you're the ones I'm looking at right now and saying, you know what? You should, quite honestly, you should be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed. That part of the game, you're fundamentally changing from what is a picture book tackle right now. So that would be my point. If you're at the league and you played meaningful football and you looked at that play and said it was wrong, that's who I have the biggest issue with, because you're the ones that could really supply the input that says, no, I get the safety. I get taking the head out of the game. I get all that stuff. Now we're protecting the quarterback. I get that. But again, to what end? That was a picture book tackle. If you're at the NFL, you played meaningful football, and you agree that was a foul, that's who I have the problem with.
I cannot disagree with you in any way, shape, or form. And last night on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt, the leading sacker in the NFL, Von Miller, was on, and he basically said, we're all trying to figure this out.
That's a tough one. Well, I mean, I understand what they're trying to do. The game is about the quarterback. We get that. You don't want to, get guys hurt. A couple of years ago when, Tom Brady tore his ACL from a low hit to the knee, they totally changed the rule. You can't hit quarterbacks below the knee anymore. Aaron Rodgers gets hurt last year from a guy landing on top of him. They totally changed the rule. So, I totally get it. It's about the quarterback. You want to keep the quarterback safe, but I'm not sure how we're supposed to, take him to the ground either.
See, here's the deal. First of all, Von Miller understands that it's not about him, yet he still found a way to get it done. But, Junior, I think that the NFL thinks everybody can do it Von Miller's way. Von Miller never tackles a guy and he ragdolls him. He's just so freakishly athletic. He does actually gently take the quarterback down almost every time. This just in. Not everybody can do it the way Von Miller is doing it.
Well, no, I think this is less about a lot of that, because Von Miller only proves that these guys are aware of why these things are happening.
Correct.
And they understand the value to their league. The difference is, and you mentioned what Mike McCarthy said, and I think that hit at the heart of it, is this feels more like a missed opportunity for me. For a league that wants to certainly deter certain things, and deterrent in these rules we talked about, have had an effect. You can see the hesitation in certain areas, but in addition to having things act as a deterrent, you also want to reinforce positive behavior. And like you said, so much of this embodies what you want out of new tackling in football that you had a chance to look and say, no, we got this wrong. This is exactly what we want. We want to reinforce that this is the type of behavior that helps, that creates the NFL that we all want to see. So that's the disappointing part, is you missed a chance to highlight something that's actually a result of all the work you've been doing.
That's a great point. That should be a highlight tape sent all the way down to youth football to say, this is where we are now, gang. No more head in the game, shoulder, drive through a man, wrap up.
Sadly, they're sending the tape around the other way saying this was the right call, which we completely 100% disagree with. All right, coming up, big news if you're going to be in the birthplace of America this weekend, like we will be on Friday.
Huh?
When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need help getting to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. And when you need to hire fast, accelerate your results with sponsored jobs. New users can try for free at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
You here? You doing anything?
I was just reading the serving ingredient facts about Thousand Island dressing.
Right,
you got handed a packet of Thousand Island dressing.
So people that maybe weren't with us 20 minutes ago, as we're trying to do a show about sports, the crew was looking up the difference between Russian and Thousand Island dressing for reasons unknown to man, and then Junior just offered up, I would drink Thousand Island dressing.
Well, I'm just amazed because we're talking about
drink Thousand
the
Island
Frisco
dressing.
Melt at Steak and Shake has Thousand Island dressing.
It's good though. It's very good.
Great, but it's calorie dense. Like it's like a 1,300 calorie meal.
So you have a packet of Thousand Island dressing,
and it's a one serving packet, and it's only 130 calories.
Really? What's the fat content?
Shocked. Let's see. 100 calories from fat, 12 total grams of fat. So about 18% of your daily value. All things considered, not really the culprit in the Frisco Melt.
By the way, we did find the difference is Thousand Island. The difference of Thousand Island and Rushing is Thousand Island has chopped up egg in it. And I'm not going to lie. While you thought that was an iceberg for the show, which I get.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of people didn't know the difference either.
I bet they didn't. I'm not sure many of them cared.
I bet we helped people win a bar bet today.
There you go. Well, how often have you said a bar bet? Hey, do you know the difference?
But that would be a great one because that would really make the person being asked go, wow, I never really thought of that.
So we got to credit our staff with a wow moment.
Sure, why not?
So here's the question.
Hang on, can we just get to the point where Michael Jr. drinks the dressing?
Yes, that's
waiting
my point.
for.
Are you drinking it or
we
not?
wanted to talk. I thought we were going to say this for a TV only or
we don't
social
do that
play.
anymore.
All right. We don't do
well,
that. Did I miss the
Allie,
meeting?
come in and film it. There's your social play.
All right,
so you're going to drink it or not?
There's a little opening on this.
Oh
you guys just go about your business.
All right, so
we'll work
keep
on
you
that
updated.
later.
So he's trying to open the packet, which is the hard part for him, believe it or not. So what's not a hard part is for Doug Peterson to understand when Carson Wentz is healthy. Oh, he's doing it. He's drinking the Thousand Island.
Drinking Thousand Island straight out of the packet.
He looks like he's nursing, which is a little uncomfortable for someone with a beard.
Oh, he's drinking the whole packet. Oh my God, that's actually somewhat disgusting.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Big boy talk.
I got to say, the look on your face doesn't tell me really good.
No, it's like I was waiting to see if there was going to be a weird afterburn.
Yeah.
There's not. There's a fair amount of good burn.
Wow.
Okay.
I give you credit for that one.
Yeah, hey, listen, sometimes you got shotgun Thousand Island.
I'll give you something. Let me just say.
Can we move on
Devin
from that?
went above and beyond to get it, so.
This is why you're this guy. Nicely done. So we were talking about Doug Peterson there, okay? Doug Peterson, much like Junior's easy decision to shotgun Thousand Island dressing, he had a very easy decision to make. Is Carson Wentz healthy? Yeah, then we're playing him this week.
He's cleared, he goes. I've said all along that, he's our guy. We drafted him to be our guy. And it's kind of like week one. I mean, a lot of your starters, guys like Jason Peters, Sproles, haven't been used to a lot of contact, whatever, a little bit in camp, but we're cleared to go, and we'll go.
So what are we expecting to see out of Carson Wentz now that he's taken the field for the first time since December on Sunday in Philly against the
Colts? A Colt defense that did hold a Washington offense to 9 points in a rather surprise. I don't know if that's more for the pat on the back to the Colts or a minus for Washington in that one, but the Colts did it. Listen, to sit there and think we can expect too much would be tough. I mean, this guy, hasn't played a meaningful down since December, all through the playoff run, now in training camp, and now the beginning of the season. So there's going to be some rust to get kicked off here. And now he's going to be allowed to be hit. He hasn't been hit since December either. And I know you can't get hit in practice, but if he played some preseason, you can get hit and played in the game. He has not gone through the any kind of hitting at all, or hitting soreness that goes along with football. So there's going to be a little bit of rust to kick off here.
And there's going to be a unique chess match that goes on with this, because on the other sideline is Frank Reich, who is very familiar with Carson Wentz and this Eagles offense and all of his strengths and weaknesses. And so now it's going to be, what do Doug Peterson and company do to protect Carson Wentz from himself? And more importantly, I think this is an interesting matchup of two quarterbacks that are really trying to overcome this, right? Both coming back from major injuries, and both who play a very physical brand of football. Andrew Luck and Carson Wentz are both great athletes, big, strong athletes, and guys who part of their appeal and part of their great playmaking ability has been the physicality that they bring to position, that now they both have to kind of put on the back burner.
Well, we've said this for a few years now about Andrew Luck. They can try and protect him, but he's got to try and protect himself. And in week one, he allowed that hit on Sean Williams, the Bengal safety that got him ejected, because he put himself in that position. And we've seen Carson Wentz. I mean, the reason he tore the knee up because he was diving headfirst into the end zone against the Rams. At what point can you, though, as an athlete who knows you have that skill set, say, I use this to my advantage, but now I have to think about not using it?
I don't think they think about it. I think they just do. I think at the end of the day, they just do, but they also have to know the situation at hand. That's where you have to be. Listen, we all know the best one at this is Russell Wilson.
Correct.
In his ability to try and have to gain yards, and unfortunately for him, for the most part, he has to gain yards with that offense. But he is the best of gaining yards or sliding and getting down. And so I don't think these guys ever change. It's like we keep talking about this with Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Cam's got to be Cam to be the best player he's going to be. These guys are going to run, but give the situation. Know when to fold them and know when to hold them, that whole thing. Know when you got to do it. And
finish it. Know when to walk away, know when to run.
Well, there you go.
Can't just leave that hanging out.
That's why I leave it hanging there, let people figure out the rest. But I don't think it's going to change. Bottom line, they're going to still do what they do.
And it's on the quarterback's coaches to make sure they blend it. A lot like Matt Nagy said, make it so he doesn't notice I'm protecting him.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly right. So again, we'll get more into what to expect out of Carson Wentz back coming up a little later. Also, by the way, we'll be at Chicky and Pete's in Philly on Friday in advance of the Colts-Eagles game.
Yeah.
Coming up, sometimes the best thing you can say is nothing at all. We'll get into that. We continue. Golic and Wingo, and we're all about dressing.
Guys, let's be real. When you look good, you feel good. At the JCPenney wardrobe sale, you can get 50% off select men's suits, separate sport coats, dress pants, and accessories. Plus, select dress shirts, buy one, get one free. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan. All the right looks to take your style to the next level. Also, save an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon, or extra 15% off with any other method of payment. Hurry in. JCPenney. Style and value for all. Pricing and coupon valid 9/13 and 9/23. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Some exclusions and restrictions apply. See store at jcp.com for coupon and details.
We're brought to you by JCPenney. Guys, at JCPenney, you can find all the great looks, whether you're in the office or on the go. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan, or relax and look good on the weekend with MSX by Michael Strahan, exclusively at JCPenney. You heard right. That stylish clothing line from Sack King, 7-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl champion, Michael Strahan. And you know he's always dressed to perfection. So hurry in, get your look today. JCPenney. Style and value for all.
Hey, college football fans, Kirk Herbstreit here. Whether you're home gating or tailgating this season, score big on Game Day Eats with Eckridge Smoked Sausage. And now you can enter the 2019 Road to the National Championship sweepstakes. You can join me at the College Football Playoff National Championship in Santa Clara, California for a chance to throw to win $1 million. To enter and learn more, visit EckridgeFootball.com. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Sweepstakes ends 12/2018. Contest rules online.
Hope you're off to a good start this Tuesday morning. Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2 for the first 2 hours of the show each and every day. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here with you. We got a lot to break down on this show. The Patriots doing what the Patriots do. Wentz back to Philadelphia. Khalil Mack continuing to wreak havoc. Questions about the Bears offense.
Yeah.
Some historic things happening in baseball. We got a lot going on.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And as we will through the week as well. And I want to know from you, and I know Mike will.
Yeah.
When Friday, we're in Philly.
Yeah.
We're at Chicky and Pete's.
Yep.
And Carson Wentz making his first start of the season.
Yeah.
How are you for anywhere between 6 and 10 a.m. in the morning eating crab fries.
No, I'm totally good with that.
You're good with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I can't wait. Have you ever had these?
Never.
Oh.
Let me just say, if you're waiting for me to have an issue with fries and seafood,
yeah,
we're going to be waiting a long time.
Okay,
we're
good.
waiting a long time.
Yeah,
long time.
How long?
Long time.
Okay.
Considering I just burped up Thousand Island heartburn, I think I'm good for
Well, I would believe me, I wasn't looking your way.
Yeah, just in case anyone was curious.
No.
Yeah. And for those that weren't with us the last hour, because our show staff likes to put icebergs in our way, they were busy Googling the difference between Thousand Island and Russian dressing.
And I truly wanted to know that.
Yeah, we know now.
Yeah. Chopped egg in the Thousand Island. So go ahead and win a bet today.
I definitely found the chopped egg.
Yeah, and then Junior said, I drink Thousand Island, and someone brought him some Thousand Island, and he drank
a packet of Thousand Island dressing.
Although I think it would have been more impressive if we had a bottle, because then you tip the bottle back.
I thought what he did
shotgunning it from a packet first thing in the morning wasn't enough for you, Trey?
Yeah.
I enjoy your standards.
Kind of made me turn away.
Listen, I just expect more from you. That's all I'm saying. I just expect more from you.
You set a bar, Mike.
Yeah, you've set a bar that you
the standard is the standard.
Just low enough but is the ceiling the roof? That's all that's important.
There you go.
TBD.
All right, here we go. Let's LOL. Let's move on with what's trending. And Christian Yelich is trending. Became the first player in Major League history to hit for the cycle against the same team twice in one season. He hit for the cycle against the Reds on August 30th, accomplished the rare feat again less than 3 weeks later, Mike.
So, bottom line first for his team, in Milwaukee, they're sitting there at 2.5 behind the Cubs in the division race, in the wild card. They are your leaders in the wild card. So from that standpoint, let's look at the team wise. And these are the only races we have left are in the National League. But then on a personal note, incredible. Just the fifth player ever to hit for multiple cycles in the same season, joining Aaron Hill in 2012, Babe Herman in 1931, Tip O'Neill, not that one, in 1887, and Long John Riley in 1883. And yes, we have information.
And thanks to our fine researcher, Harrison, who came up with this.
Great
if you might saying, who is Long John Riley, who
Long
did this
John
back
Riley.
in
Again, he
1883.
Did this 1883 he did this, yes.
69 career home runs in 10 seasons.
Nice.
According to the Society for American Baseball Research, the Cincinnati Enquirer compared him to lightning because in that way he doesn't hit anything often, but when he does, the splinters fly.
It's fantastic.
And then there's Tip O'Neill.
Tip O'Neill, who did it in 1887.
Nickname, the Woodstock Wonder. And this great information, born May 25th, 1858, buried St. Mary Cemetery, Woodstock, Ontario.
Awesome.
And then
Babe Herman.
Full name, Floyd Caves Herman.
Your middle name is Caves.
Yes. Oh, and it gets better.
Yeah.
Would you like to read the next line? Because this is the best
go
part.
ahead.
According to the Society for American Baseball Research, quote, Babe Herman is often recalled for zany baseball running, field lapses, and off-the-field malapropisms. Those are some who contend that's what kept him out of the Hall of Fame.
What are malapropisms?
Saying the wrong thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like
I
saying
have no clue.
Yeah, and it's instead of saying botching a phrase for lack of a better term.
I've spent 20 years doing that.
I was about to say you are a living malaprop.
I'm a living malapropism.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go.
Wow, I learned a new word.
So Yelich and those stats about the other guys that have done it are stats incredible.
Love that.
And that's brought to you by OnStar. Advisors are ready to help when the unexpected happens. Like, what's the difference between Thousand Island and Russian dressing? Hey, be safe out there, especially if you're chugging a packet of dressing very early in the morning. We continue with what's trending, and I think we need to be very clear about what this story is, and maybe more importantly, what it isn't. Antonio Brown tweeted, "Trade me," then, and find out in response to a critic. Now, here's what happens. There was a former Steelers PR staffer, who, by the way, as a former Steelers PR staffer, what the hell are you going down this road for? I have no idea. Who basically threw it out there, basically saying that Antonio Brown should thank his lucky stars that he's with Ben Roethlisberger because Ben made him, and without Ben, he wouldn't be anything. And so Antonio's response was, trade me, and let's find out, Junior.
I mean, listen, he probably figures everyone else in the Steelers organization gets to speak freely, so he missed the boat on that when he was with them from 2010 to 2017. So that's what makes this interesting is this is a guy that had a front row seat. He's seen all the stuff that we haven't seen inside that building, and he still came out here with this opinion. And the ironic part to me in all of this is, if you look at the killer bees that have defined this era for the Steelers, AB is going to be the last one standing, right?
Without question.
Yes, he is.
Like, he's going to be
Bell
the
is
one
gone
that
whenever he
with.
shows up, then he's gone.
He's gone. Ben is, I mean, we heard before Mason Rudolph showed up on campus, it seemed like it was, every year we were on 1-year leases with Ben Roethlisberger. AB is going to be the last one there. So this was more a challenge to a statement that we all agree is idiotic, right? Like the idea that anyone made Antonio Brown.
I'm somewhat amazed by that statement, quite honestly. And it's not shocking that Antonio Brown answered through Twitter. A guy, by the way, who was very frustrated on the sidelines on Sunday, and Antonio Brown left the stadium before the media came in after the game and was not around in the locker room for media availability on Monday. So not real happy with what went on the sideline and probably doesn't really want to talk about it right now. He's going to have to at some point because as soon as he talks to the media, someone's going to ask him about that, but it's not like he hasn't been, down this road before.
Let me just say one thing, and I'm sure this guy's name is Ryan Scarpino. Is that his name? One of the things I'm sure that was floating around in his brain was Antonio Brown has never caught a touchdown pass from anybody besides Ben Roethlisberger in his career. That still holds true. It's sort of a weird stat. But to use that and extrapolate that out to the next level,
crazy.
You're nothing without Ben. Look, Ben's a very good quarterback, and they work well together. And in fact, what they do better than anybody else is when the machine breaks down, they are in a rhythm that they can find themselves. But to suggest that Antonio Brown wouldn't be as good with, say, Matt Ryan or Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Matthew Stafford, I'm not buying that.
Oh, well, you said it this morning, Mike. They're not mutually exclusive. I mean, they can both be great. One's career has not been made by the other.
No, and later on in Ben Roethlisberger's career, as his skills have declined some, we all acknowledge he's benefited from having stellar weapons, like any other quarterback in the league would.
This just in, the more weapons you have, the better you play. It's like saying, if you have better players, you play better, and you have a better chance to win games. None of this is groundbreaking, but the idea that this guy would just lob that out there, she doesn't make much sense. And then there's this, by the way. Can I just say, very often can you say when you're comparing on Harvard education to a University of Alabama education.
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
No.
A wonderful education.
But in this situation.
Harvard is Harvard, right?
Advantage Alabama.
Man. This is incredible. We all know about what Ryan Fitzpatrick is doing in Tampa Bay.
It's Fitzmagic.
Fitzmagic. The term Fitzmagic. So, what do you know? Fitzmagic has been trademarked. But not by Ryan Fitzpatrick, by Minkah Fitzpatrick, the DB, the rookie who just in the NFL from Alabama. He trademarked it. Well, his group did. He didn't go and do it. He filed with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. His group did it on behalf of Minkah Fitzpatrick. Fitzmagic. That is a smart business move, just in case this thing turns into anything.
Stugatz strong and Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Great
He's
job.
Down there in Miami for a short amount of time. He's already learned so much for our friends over at the Levitard.
I just think that's great. And again, why we say this, and it's not a knock on the academic side of University of Alabama, but almost any year, the top national universities in the United States are either Princeton or Harvard.
Yeah.
This most recent year, Harvard was number 2. Alabama not in the top 20.
Was Notre Dame one?
No, Princeton was.
All right.
Well, let's see Notre Dame. Let's see Notre Dame. Not seeing Notre Dame.
Well, that's obviously a flawed study then.
Yeah, I can say that's a very poor list you've put together there.
Yeah, really.
I didn't put it together.
I don't know where you got that list. Is that list in crayon? What is the deal?
Well, you can't say crayon, so
Seriously?
I wouldn't say it right.
Crayon?
There it is.
Crayon?
There it is.
Crayon.
Once again,
we need that crayon.
There is University of Notre Dame. Oh, and fundraising, but not in anything else.
Oh, okay, you can stop.
I'm kidding.
Now.
It's just not on the top of this list. That's
impressive, though, to trademark that. Just like what Pat Riley did, three-peat.
Yes.
I mean, you just
that's
never
know. That's a brilliant move.
Listen.
That's a brilliant move by this kid.
You never know when it comes about if Fitzpatrick keeps firing it all year and he stays the quarterback even when Jameis Winston comes back. Who knows what will happen with that? Good job by Minkah and his crew.
Minkah Fitzpatrick, finally liberated from everything in the NCAA's rule books, can go out here and make money on someone else's image and likeness. Yeah. He learned from the NCAA. That's the way to do it. Make money off somebody else's labor.
By the way, and let's be clear, Minkah Fitzpatrick, friend of the show, because we had him on after the Alabama National Championship, and he admitted he missed one of the key moments in the game because he was using the medical tent
blue tent
take care of some facility
issues. He was peeing.
Yes.
He was peeing in the blue tent. How about the next person that walked in that blue tent?
Yeah.
Oh, hey now.
You sure he was peeing?
Yeah.
We didn't get that specific. To be honest with you, we didn't get that specific.
I don't want you guys to assume anything.
Yeah,
that's probably true. Like you would not chug Russian dressing after Thousand Island. I would never assume that, but you might.
I really don't want to right now. A lot of heartburn this morning. It hasn't mixed well with the oatmeal. It's just a lot. It's a lot moving around.
By the way, the iceberg that we're calling it, the Thousand Island Russian dressing, of course, on our call-in line, 860-506.
There we go.
5505. Someone has weighed in.
Look, Thousand Island dressing and Russian dressing are nowhere near the same. Russian dressing is solid red, but it does not have any comparison to Thousand Island dressing. Get both of them, taste them, look at them. They're not the same. They're not even close.
Dude's calling you out, Stanzik.
Yes,
calling you out.
The hell?
Saying they're nowhere near the same.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Stanzik?
I think we just need to get Mike Golic Jr. to try Russian dressing now, and he can tell us.
Yeah, I like that.
As long as he's the prop and not me. That's cool. I'm cool with it.
I like that.
Okay.
We're going to space that one out to tomorrow. Make this a two-part series.
Yeah.
So I can drink my coffee and not throw
TSL, baby.
Content, ladies.
There you go.
It's a horizontal tease.
It comes from all. It's a horizontal tease. We're
throwing it all at you right now. Yeah.
We'll have a dressing a day for the rest of the week. There we go. Junior will be our guinea pig. All right, Golic and Wingo here, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. So it's a big weekend for the Ohio State Buckeyes as Urban Meyer has ended his 3-game suspension. He's back fully ensconced with the team. He'll be on the sidelines when they take on Tulane this Saturday. And he continues to speak about the reasons that got him suspended in the first place, how he handled the hiring, firing, and handling of Zach Smith, the former wide receiver coach at Ohio State, and the allegations of domestic violence against Zach and his wife, Courtney Smith, and everything that went on there. And for some reason, after making statements and press conferences, Urban continues to feel the need to have more statements.
It feels he needs to clarify things.
Keeps clarifying things.
Yeah.
And his most recent interview with Tom Rinaldi, we went back to the initial thing, which is what happened at Big Ten Media Day, where he basically admitted to not fully saying the right thing, but would not say he lied. Here's the part of the script, or that interview with Tom Rinaldi and Urban Meyer.
What's the difference between a misstatement and a lie?
I made a mistake. I did not lie. I don't lie to people. I don't lie to people. If you're going to ask me a question and I incorrectly answer the question or I misspoke to me, there's a big difference. I erred at Media Day, but there was never one time when I got asked a question I was trying to mislead that person that was asking the question.
Okay, so the crux of this all goes back to, on Big Ten Media Day, were you aware of the 2015 incident between Zach and Courtney Smith? And he said, no, I didn't know anything about it. And then he later came out and said, I erred and misspoke. I did know something about it. Right. I didn't know how to handle it. Look, I feel like we're in this lather, rinse, repeat cycle of this over and
it's
over
all
again.
Wording.
Yeah. At the end of the day, whether you want, however you want to call it, you weren't truthful. Now, if you want to call that a misstatement, that's fine. Other people are going to say that's a lie. And I can't say either one of them are wrong here.
Misspoke, misremembered, whatever, misled, however you want to look at it.
You said you didn't know about something when you clearly knew about it. So you can splinter that any way you want. And that's all this is really about at this point. You said you didn't know something when you knew it. And so we can parse those hairs. We can split it a million ways if you want. But it's just what you want to label that and what you're comfortable labeling that.
I just don't understand why he keeps, and I understand people are going to say, well, if the media would stop asking him, if you see that every time we ask Urban Meyer, he's going to go further to try and explain himself and sound worse in the process and give you something closer to something revealing, of course you're going to keep asking. And Urban Meyer keeps willingly put himself, said he wanted to do this sit down with Tom Rinaldi and get it out there, wanted to speak his truth in all of this. The problem is it seems awful difficult to speak the truth when you're trying to skate around every word that you're saying.
And as far as the media stop asking, well, stop giving reasons for questions. Because what did Urban Meyer say? He said, my wife Shelley didn't show me any texts in 2015. And what did the report say? Tom Rinaldi asked all this. Yeah. Tom Rinaldi read to him in the report. The people who did the investigation believe to some extent you and Shelley shared information.
They said it was more likely that they did.
So that's a fair question to ask. Yeah. Another fair question to ask, when the information came out, the article came out on August 1st, one of the first things Urban Meyer said was, how do I get rid of texts? How do I stop them from being a year old? Okay. Fair question to ask. Urban, why did you do that? Tom Rinaldi asked him. He answered that. So I guess my point is they're asking questions because you're giving them reasons to continue to ask the questions. He talked about that presser where he was suspended when he and the president and Gene Smith, the AD, were all up there, and said basically he didn't sound compassionate because he was exhausted. Okay, if you want to give him that, that's fine. Said at 9 a.m. he was going for 12 hours. He didn't come across as compassionate, emotional, anything like that. It was a little more robotic. He said it was because he was exhausted. Didn't mention Courtney Smith by name, was asked about that again. I guess that's my point. The questions get asked because you kind of force that with your answers and then what the report says. Here's the bottom line to me is I think a lot of people think he was very loyal to Zach because of Earl Bruce.
Exactly right. Earl Bruce was his mentor, and Zach Smith was his grandson, for those that have forgotten or didn't catch that part of the story. So the bottom line here is Urban went out of his way to try and help or protect, whether it's right or wrong, someone that was related to someone that he holds very dear.
I think that was a big part of it, maybe taking it too far, which he admits right now. And the other, I mean, listen, they're not going to say it. Urban's not going to say it. Shelley Meyer hasn't said anything, and I don't think she ever will. You have to think, Mike, at this point, they don't believe domestic violence happened. That they don't think that happened. And we don't know what happened. And by the way, there have never been any charges filed against Zach Smith. So that has to be put out there as well. But I don't believe that they think anything happened.
Well, and they
or to the point of taking it to the next level.
And they can't come out and say that in as many words. And so you get all the skating around, but as far out as we've gone, because you're right, every time he's answered questions, it begets more questions because the answers don't line up. And we end up dealing with so many inconsistencies. And it all basically boils down to, what have we heard over and over again? I wanted to help a young couple stabilize a situation. I wrapped my arms around him after a 2009 arrest of Zach Smith when he was at Florida. I wanted to wrap my arms around them and help this couple stabilize the situation. Me and my wife took them under our wings. And then in 2015, when something else happened in their lives, we knew nothing about it. Me and my wife didn't talk about it.
Yeah, that stretches credulity.
That's the logical fallacy I'm expected to believe.
Here's the deal. What you just said is accurate, because every time he makes a statement or is in front of a camera, he follows it up with another statement to clarify what he just said. And by the way, you said it. He wanted to do this interview with Tom Rinaldi.
Yes, he did.
He says he wanted to put it out there, and then the interview goes poorly, and he puts out another statement after the interview. And our good friend at ESPN.com, Kevin Von Valkenburg, who does a great job as a golf writer for us, retweeted the statement from Urban Meyer with this quote.
This is after the Tom Rinaldi
After the Tom Rinaldi interview, he released another statement. Urban did. And Kevin says, the ever so rare additional clarification and apology to clear up the previous clarification that followed the original apology, which was issued after the initial non-apology drew criticism. I mean, that kind of sums up where we are. And at the end of the day, if you just wanted to say one thing, which is, look, there was a guy that I respected, I was trying to help out a guy maybe because I was blindly loyal to him, that would have been fine. And Stephen A. Smith seemed to have summed that up perfectly.
You want to cover for the guy because he's the grandson. As egregious as people might find that, at least that's understandable. But do us a favor. Shut the hell up and leave it at that. This man was my mentor. He helped me get my career started. I felt I owed him. I messed up. And shut the hell up. Every time he tries to explain it, he incriminates himself even more. Shut up. To continue to explain with 4 different iterations just makes you come across as a pathological liar. And that's what makes me feel bad, because I like Urban Meyer, but damn, be quiet.
Yeah. Listen, I like Urban Meyer too. I always have. I've liked Urban Meyer. I mean, back when years ago met him, when we recruited you and Jake, I mean, and met him when they was at Florida, I've always liked him. But in the situation here, for head coaches who are always in control of the situation, this one has completely gotten away from him. Statement, put out a statement. Presser, put out a statement. I mean, I feel like I got to talk again, put out a statement. Bottom line is, though, it's over now, right? The suspension. He's going back on the sideline. And, Mike, you know this, big-time college football, how quickly now we're just rolling on.
Well, and that's, I guess the thing is, if Urban Meyer keeps talking, it won't go away in the way that it would when this team just being great. And Ohio State's been great so far this season. Top 15 win against TCU this last weekend as they get ready to roll into conference play. They've been great enough to where the sports landscape would do what it always does with serious things like this. Forget it very quickly if you win and do well. But Urban Meyer, as he continues to answer questions and continues to open mouth about this, gives us more reason to ask and more reason to dig in, which maybe it's good because the role of everyone on the outside is to try and hold people accountable for things.
And again, if he asks about it going forward, all he has to say at this point is, guys, I said all I've said. I served my suspension. I understand everything. I'm trying to move on and get this team ready to roll.
Yeah, listen, right? Zach Smith's still going to have his day in court, and that part from
that's a separate
from that side is going to get taken care of.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes.
And that's probably the key issue because all of this is such a departure from what's really at the center of this at this point. It's about response. It's about reaction. It's about parsing through words, like Trey said.
Again, call it what you want. Everyone's going to have their opinion of what they thought was the crux of all of this, no matter what anyone else says.
Guys, let's be real. When you look good, you feel good. At the JCPenney wardrobe sale, you can get 50% off select men's suits, separate sport coats, dress pants, and accessories. Plus, select dress shirts, buy one, get one free. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan. All the right looks to take your style to the next level. Also, save an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon, or extra 15% off with any other method of payment. Hurry in. JCPenney. Style and value for all. Pricing and coupon valid 9/13 and 9/23. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Some exclusions and restrictions apply. See store jcp.com for coupon and details.
It's time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Zoom gives you flawless video, crystal clear audio, and instant sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit Zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing. Technology powers your business, and technology changes. But chances are you're still using video conferencing that was wow 10 years ago, but feels more like whoa today. Ditch the choppy video and crappy audio and get back to wow with Zoom. It's the easiest, most reliable video collaboration suite, and it costs about a third of what you're probably paying now. Wow, not whoa. Visit Zoom.us to set up a free account today. That's Zoom.us. Zoom video conferencing.
All right, Golic and Wingo, glad you're with us on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. You can get in touch with us, 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, at Golic and Wingo, or call in 860-506-5505. Get your thoughts on the Josh Gordon move in New England, or whether or not Thousand Island and Russian dressing are the same or similar. Again, one of those oddly weird topics that we seem to pop up with on this show, thanks to the crew putting that iceberg in front of this finely tuned ship that we're steering. But right now, let's bring in the minister. We're delighted to be joined by NFL insider and co-host of the Fantasy Football Podcast Field, Minister Yates, joining us in studio, giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. Now, Field, I must say, you and I are very similar opinions on this, and I think we both find it a little odd why people, whomever they are, and for whatever reason are saying, I can't believe that the Patriots will go down this road of drafting for an unproven, tempestuous, locker room, potentially killing commodity like Josh Gordon. To which I respond, really? Really?
So let's take a step back here and evaluate the cost and the potential benefit.
Thank you.
A little cost-benefit analysis here for those econ majors listening this morning on the radio or watching ESPN.
None of them listen to this show. Let's be clear.
The Patriots sacrificed, and I use that word very liberally, a fifth-round pick that if Josh Gordon does not play 10 games this season,
active for 10 games,
returns them a seventh-round pick. So What we're talking about is somewhere between 50 and 60 draft slots. If you go through the fifth round of the 2018 NFL draft, there are a couple of players that have made an impact.
Sure.
There's also one that got cut yesterday, notably. Daniel Carlson, by the way, a player that the Vikings traded up for to land into the fifth round to eventually play for 2 games and then cut him after he missed 4 kicks. My point is this. If you were going to keep that pick for the Patriots, you're getting a player that maybe makes your roster. He might, if you cut a fifth-round pick at the end of training camp, as Mike Zimmer said yesterday, no water off a duck's back, right? It happens. If you have the maximum potential realized from Josh Gordon, you're talking about the most talented wide receiver the Patriots have had. In terms of pure talent, and I get it, maybe there's a 5% chance that Josh Gordon reverts to form. Maybe it's 25% chance. Maybe it's a little bit higher than that or somewhere in between. But if you have that, you have the most talented Patriots wide receiver they've had since Randy Moss.
So, I get Cleveland, bent over backwards trying to help this guy. So you can understand if they got to the end of their rope. Is there anywhere or any thought of or anything concrete that maybe they also did it for a reason, that there's something looming out there as well?
Nothing that I have been able to gather is that Cleveland has some sort of looming fear of a suspension or that this was tied to a potential relapse. We know that Josh Gordon has battled a lot of inner demons. What I will say here is this. The Browns have been patient and patient and patient some more with Josh Gordon. People are saying just a 5th-round pick for Josh Gordon. You got to understand that the Browns would not have traded him away if there was a far superior offer or a superior offer, period. You know, remember the intention was to trade him to the NFC to avoid trading him to a team that you might see at some point down the line, potentially in the playoffs, which we know there's a joke to be made there about the 0-1-1 Browns.
How dare the Patriots get in the way of the Browns playoff run?
Right,
yeah.
But my thing is this, is like, I get it, people are disappointed, just a 5th-round pick. It was the best offer they were going to receive, and those who are saying, why cut bait now? You know, at some point you have to be able to talk about culture and then point to tangible results within the culture. And if you continue to make excuses and give passes for a player that has immense talent, there's going to come a time when a lesser player than Josh Gordon in terms of overall ability does something that might not be as egregious as what Josh Gordon has done, and the Browns say, all right, we're pulling the plug. But how can you make that statement if you're also not willing to make the statement that Josh Gordon, needs to be moved on from because of all the things that he has done wrong in his Cleveland career? So at some point, you just have to cut bait, move on, and work on drafting and developing. And they've done a pretty decent job, it seems like, of infusing this roster with some young talent. And on Sunday afternoon, one of the best plays, what would have been probably remembered in a different light if they had won the game, was Antonio Callaway's unbelievable game-tying catch. That was a thing of beauty right there. So the focus has to be on what is left over, not what was once here.
Yeah, and Adam Schefter alluded to that yesterday on NFL Live and NFL Primetime, basically saying, look, they needed to say, we are making a statement, we are moving forward. Yep. And just real quickly for the math, okay? They gave up this 5th-round pick. Here's what the Patriots have in terms of draft picks in 2019. They have a 1st-rounder. Yep. They have 2 2nd-rounders. They have 3 3rd-rounders. They have a 4th-rounder. They have a 6th-rounder and potentially 3 7th-rounders. So a 5th-round pick from that pile of draft picks is really no risk for a very potential sky-high reward. That's the way you got to look at this.
And so for this Patriots team, too, that inherits him now, you talk about culture, one in Cleveland that they're trying to establish versus the one in New England that now gets to absorb Josh Gordon, that seems like, in all scenarios, the most ideal one because it's proven in the past that it can absorb these kind of things.
And the Patriots are not batting 1,000 when it comes to these moves of, troubled or risky players that they bring aboard for essentially pennies on the dollar. We know that Chad Ochocinco and Albert Haynesworth have been notable examples of whiffs, but this is not that different from draft picks in some ways, right? Like, you look at the track record of any team. There are going to be a lot of whiffs, and there are going to be some hits along the way. I mean, the Seahawks are revered for their mid to late round draft pick selections. But like, they've also just completely missed the boat on a bunch of 1st-round picks. Like, the idea in the NFL is essentially this. Give yourself a bunch of throws at the dartboard, and you're bound to land on a couple of bullseyes, right? And for Josh Gordon, if you look at the Patriots roster right now, it's no mystery. Now, Sunday was not merely dictated by the fact that the Patriots wide receiving group is an area of vulnerability on the roster right now. The Jaguars are freaking good on defense. Unbelievably good on defense. And it's not like the Patriots group of pass catchers last year was a bunch of, former Randy Mosses. But you've given yourself a player that who else would you find at this junction of the season or any time going forward that gives you anything close to the potential skill set that Josh Gordon can bring?
Yeah, I think they're the absolute buy low kings, right? That seems to be what they do. Because again, when you have Tom Brady to make you right in most instances, and you can fall back on a receiving core that still gets you to the Super Bowl in most years, even without it, it becomes a lot easier to try and take these quote unquote risks.
Like, Chad Ochocinco clearly didn't work out. And Teddy Bruschi famously got on him once in an NFL Live episode. He says, I was watching the offense of the Patriots. It's like a video game. And Teddy's like, yeah, you need to be part of that video game. Get in your playbook and study it. It didn't work out. That year, they still made it to the Super Bowl.
Right.
And the Albert Haynesworth thing, it cost them. People are like, well, why couldn't the genius work with Albert Haynesworth? That's not the point. The point is they took a risk that potentially could have worked out, and it cost them next to nothing. And it's never going to crater the locker room because the locker room in New England knows this. With or without any of us,
the show is going to move on. So you're either in board and it works, or if it doesn't and you're out, and you're not going to burn the place down in the process.
This is not making a $15 million a year investment in a quarterback who's not very good. We see that around the NFL year after year after year. This is not going to compromise their cap space. This is not going to do something that impacts the 2 to 3 to 5 to 10-year outlook of the Patriots. If it works out, you've got a game changer. If it doesn't, you're no worse for the wear, because I joked with Trey on text last night about this. Let's be honest. Belichick, if this doesn't work out, he'll probably find a way to recoup that 5th-round pick through some other trade anyway.
Exactly.
He'll probably trade a 24th for 3 2019 fifths.
All right, so that's the situation with Josh Gordon.
When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need help getting to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screener questions, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. And when you need to hire fast, accelerate your results with sponsored jobs. New users can try for free at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
All right, Golic and Wingo with you, ESPN Radio and ESPN 2. The sound of the rain.
Oh, God, don't.
You started it,
man. But I was singing it well. What the hell were you just doing?
Oh, let's not.
You guys were both mumble rapping that song.
God.
You sound like a dying animal in the forest.
Are you kidding me? Anytime you want to have a sing-off, my friend, anytime you want.
Be careful of the things you don't know.
Wonder who sang in front of 20,000 people at a Darius Rucker concert. I wonder who did that did it well.
Well, I was about to say, I've heard that. I wouldn't call it singing. It was more like somebody stepped on a cat's tail.
That's jealousy right there. Mike, you want to go ahead?
Hey, Trey, you know I'm not one to gas him up unnecessarily. I was there live for that one. He stunted up on that stage. So you're not. There's a lot of stage presence in that. Went rogue in a couple of situations the band wasn't even ready for.
Yeah.
These are the things where you're talking about things you're not aware of. We'll get into that discussion a little bit later. Field Yates is with us here. And Field, we heard the Mike Zimmer quote about why it was an easy decision to cut Daniel Carlson.
Sure, yeah.
They replace him with Dan Bailey, who, of course, was surprisingly cut this offseason by the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of it a cap-saving move. He was going to make $3.4 million. He's the second most accurate kicker in the history of the NFL. Now, he had turned down, 4 offers, I think, from other teams. But if you do the math, let's see. I go to a team that looks like they're Super Bowl ready with a multifaceted offense, a really good defense. They play their home games indoors.
Correct.
They've already been to Green Bay, so I don't have to go to Green Bay there. Is this the missing piece to a potential Super Bowl puzzle?
It is a missing piece. I'm not sure it's the missing piece, because I think the Vikings roster probably could have been okay. Like, I still viewed them as a Super Bowl contender with Daniel Carlson as their kicker. So I don't want to say that this immediately pushes them over the edge, because the NFC is so ridiculously deep and loaded. The Rams, perhaps quietly because they haven't played great opponents, have looked every bit as good as we expected them to look coming into this season. They have completely demoralized over the past 6 quarters the offenses of the Raiders and the Arizona Cardinals. But the Vikings, this certainly is one of those moves where I get it, they're tight against the cap, and I understand that this is a team that, you don't want to be too knee-jerky all the time when it comes to player decisions. But Mike Zimmer has been hardened in his NFL career 35 years before he got his first NFL head coaching job. Coached for Bill Parcells for quite some time. Like, he doesn't have time to waste time. When Dan Bailey is there and available, and your kicker misses, 4 kicks or 3 kicks in a critical game? Yeah, no surprise. And we got to appreciate Mike Zimmer, like one of the better quotes in the NFL.
Oh, he's right up there with Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, he's right there. It's a business.
In his own sort of way, right?
The Vontae Davis situation, retiring at halftime. Any legs to this? Anything else coming out about this? Or
the Bills got a roster exemption. Here's what I would just say. I know everybody's had their opinion on it. Here's the part that falls on. I did not play professional sports, obviously. Vontae Davis is 30 years old. He has probably been playing and actively training for football for close to 20 years, somewhere between 15 and 20 years. Poured his heart and soul into everything that he did. He was a very good player at the University of Illinois. He comes from a football family. His brother Vernon, of course, is one of the great tight ends over the past 15 or so years in the NFL. This guy has showed up and been there. He was a very good player for the Indianapolis Colts, started his career in Miami. What I cannot figure out is this, is you have poured blood, sweat, and tears into 15 years of training. And you could not, if he woke up on Monday morning and put out the exact same statement that he put out on Sunday evening after leaving the game at halftime, everybody will be sitting here and saying, you know something, man, I appreciate the fact that when you no longer had it in you,
correct,
you admitted to your teammates, it's just not for me anymore, guys. I am retiring from the NFL and probably going to have to forfeit my signing bonus that I was given upon becoming a Buffalo Bill for $1.5 million. And everybody would say, you know something, man, I appreciate that. Like, I'd rather you tell us that straight than continue to go through the motions, if you will. He couldn't make it through 30 more snaps. That's the part that I just cannot wrap my head around for a guy that's been doing this for 15 years, has been pouring everything he has into the game of football. He just says, you know something, 30 more plays, not for me. I'm going to beat the traffic, head out and go move on to the next chapter of my life.
Right. But that's saying context is everything here. Because to your point, exactly, if he woke up Monday morning and said, guys, I can't do it anymore. But at the half, to tell people, because you knew if you're doing it at the half, it didn't just pop into your head in the first quarter.
Been floating there.
It didn't. And you guys played, and we heard that great Aaron Rodgers soundbite. The question is, what are you willing to lay on the line for your teammates?
Sure.
And for it to go down that way, it just ruins everything else that might have been beneficial about this.
Yeah, and the Bills right now are a team that's been preaching culture. And I get it. Vontae Davis was not part of the long-term planning in Buffalo, but for a team that has been talking about patience and culture and process, these are the kind of events, and there's nothing that Sean McDermott or Brandon Beane, the head coach and the GM of the Bills, could have done about this, but you'd like to think those are the kind of avoidable events that maybe they'll use them as a teaching moment for younger players, but just the whole thing about it it's just disappointing is the word I would say. It's disappointing above all else.
Well, that's like their D tackle Kyle Williams said. He's where he needs to be now, not here.
Correct. Right. Exactly right. His teammates' reaction summed up, I think, the best thing about it. Like Lorenzo Alexander said, I've never seen this in Pop Warner football, let alone this. And as Kyle said, if that's the way he feels, he doesn't need to be here. That tells you about how it wasn't handled the right way. Field, always good to have you on the show.
Man. Thank you, guys.
Coming up, the big winner from last night, plus our next guest thinks one of the country's best programs is on life support.
Guys, let's be real. When you look good, you feel good. At the JCPenney wardrobe sale, you can get 50% off select men's suits, separate sport coats, dress pants, and accessories. Plus, select dress shirts, buy one, get one free. Raise your game with Collection by Michael Strahan. All the right looks to